It seems like every month it gets better and better to be a Beyblade fan. We have our first left spin bay coming to the Beyblade X system, the Dranzer-inspired BlackShell random booster, and the return of Dranzer. So in this video, we're going to go as in-depth as possible on all the new pictures and videos on Cobalt Dragoon, talk about the bays and the parts of the random booster to see which ones are good and bad, and more. Okay, so get a snack, get some popcorn, and let's talk about bays. The amazing Cobalt Dragoon and BlackShell random booster is currently up for pre-order right now on Mall of Toys. So go and get your pre-orders in for the first left spin bay and the Dranzer kind of remake. These bays are going to be really exciting whenever they finally release. So go and check them out. Link in the description down below and use code ilinnuc to get 5% off. So the first thing we're going to talk about, of course, is going to be the left spin bay, which is Cobalt Dragoon. This is super exciting, obviously. Everybody knows that left spin bays are always pretty special, and we have our first left spin bay in the entire Beyblade X system, and it's also named after Dragoon, which was the first Beyblade ever made, and it overall has the makings to be a legendary Beyblade X release. I've already talked about Cobalt Dragoon in my last video where we went over the bay, the parts, etc. But since then, we've seen the bay in person, we've seen some battle videos, we've even gotten a really cool CGI trailer that just makes the bay look even more epic. So let's look at this CGI trailer really quick. You see the bay kind of in action. Obviously, it's all simulated. It's not real, but it just makes it look really cool. You see it kind of battling. You see the fact that it's left spin, etc. It's definitely a nice little kind of advertisement. Now, sometimes with the Takara Tomy kind of high quality images that we get, it makes the bays look kind of flat and bland. Sometimes it makes the metal sort of look like plastic. Well, Takara Tomy actually showed off Cobalt Dragoon at events and on video, and the bay looks even better, okay? I think that this picture of Cobalt Dragoon looks even better than the render that we got just a few days ago. Now, I do want to look at a side view that we got over Cobalt Dragoon. This was taken at the Takara Tomy kind of Beyblade store or at a showcase. It was under glass kind of supervision, so nobody was able to get a true like hands-on with it. But in this side view that was posted on Twitter, you do see that the blade is definitely pretty chunky. I still think it's going to weigh quite a bit. Maybe not as much as like Phoenix Wing or Cobalt Drake, of course, but it's not quite as like angled or as chunky as I was expecting. So maybe its attack power will be a little bit weaker than I was thinking, or I'm just being overly critical. Takara Tomy also posted a video kind of in a game show sort of format, but most of the video isn't really relevant to what we're talking about, but we did see some battles. Now, I do want you guys to remember that battle videos posted by Takara Tomy are probably kind of inclined to make the new bays look as good as possible, so you can't really trust them fully, but you can still sort of see the performance here. And up against bays like Dranzer that hit really hard, it was thrown around just a little bit, but because it is a left spin bay, it was able to equalize and kind of steal spin, sort of, and it did kind of well. Now, during this gap between my first news video and now, we've also gotten more high quality pictures of the parts on Cobalt Dragoon. So let's go ahead and look at the ratchets. Now, I did showcase these before, but it was kind of pixelated and is not great pictures. But now we can see 260 in its really nice detail, its nice color schemes. I still have the same kind of impression with it to where I kind of doubt it'll be better than parts like 360 or even 960. Those double-sided points just, I don't know. I don't really expect it to be a competitive beast or anything, and I think its balancing isn't going to be top tier, but that's me being overly critical in this kind of deep dive style video. But I think the aesthetics of it look really, really good with its red and blue color scheme. And we also got a better look at the bits as well, which is C or Cyclone. Now, I still have the same impressions on this piece as well. I definitely think it's going to be pretty solid and pretty fun. Obviously, I don't think it's going to overtake parts like Rush in terms of how competitive it is. It is pretty similar in sizing to Rush, sort of, but it obviously has a different gear ratio. I'm also wondering what this will be like on right spin bays, because that'll kind of go against the direction of the star spin. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But Cobalt Dragoon looks to be a beast, and even if it's not like competitively overpowered, kind of like Cobalt Drake or Phoenix Wing or Wizard Rod, etc., the fact that it is our first left spin bay does mean a lot to the entire system and to the entire game. Now that we have a left spin bay, we could be seeing releases like Dragoon S or Lightning El Drago come maybe a little bit sooner than people were maybe expecting. So even if these parts aren't top tier, I still think having a left spin bay is going to set the meta on fire a little bit, in which, you know, some bays and some combos might not be as good against left spin types. But that is Cobalt Dragoon 260 Cyclone. I already have my pre-orders in. I'm super excited for it, as I see pretty much all of you guys are as well. And I also can't wait for this bay to come out in the Hasbro lineup as well, because a lot of people can't get Takara Tomy, or they just don't really want to. So whenever this releases from Hasbro, we're gonna see this huge hype roller coaster again. So now let's go ahead and talk about the random booster. So this is gonna be coming out the same time as Cobalt Dragoon, which is July 13th. It's random booster 4, and the prize bay is BlackShells. So this is obviously a Drasil inspired bay. I compared it to Drasil F in my last video. You can also compare it to Drasil MS from the HMS system. It looks pretty cool. I am kind of biased against defense types in the Beyblade X system. Defense types are always kind of light, and I kind of believe that they are the worst bays in the lineup, typically like Shinobi Shadow, Knight Shield, Knight Lance. Some people may have luck with them, but most people don't really use them. It's also going to be on 460 as the Ratchet, which has like a green color scheme, but it's four-sided, which is never really that great. It's also one of the first Ratchets ever released when it came out originally on Scythe Incendia. I'm saying the Hasbro names now. It's one of the original Ratchets released when it came out on Hell's Scythe. There we go. So it's not really super exciting. And then we have the D bit, okay? We have Dot. And this one, like I said in my last video, makes me a little bit uncomfortable, okay? People were talking about it in the comments that it kind of made them feel a little weird as well, seeing all these little bits and dots on the tip. It's just kind of weird. It's also a little bit more of a needle shape than I was expecting. I knew it wasn't going to be a full ball, but I was expecting it to be kind of a mixture, and it's a bit needle-ish. So I don't know how I feel about that. So getting a new bay, and especially a bay that is modeled after one of the sacred beasts from the original series, is really cool. That's a nice concept. But when I look at how the bay will probably perform, especially when it releases at the same time as Cobalt Dragoon, I'm not really getting my expectations super high. So moving on to the rest of the random booster, I was kind of not as charitable to it in my last video. I didn't really love a lot of what we were seeing, although now that we have more pictures and more information, and we also have more part info as well, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. Let's start with something that isn't as cool, okay? My opinion on this will never change, but the yellow BlackShells, the yellow shells recolor, I don't like these yellow recolors as much. Yellow bays in general are just not my favorite color schemes. It doesn't mean we need to see stuff in red or blue all the time. It's also going to be on 980 and Ball, and Ball is pretty good. It's one of the first bits ever released. 980 is decent as well, although, you know, it's a little bit too tall. It's just kind of ugly. Next up, we have a red color scheme of Unicorn Sting, and while red is not my favorite color, and it kind of reminds me of the red Leon Claw that came on a random booster a little while ago, where it seems like they could have done more. It's a bit more of a reddish orangish as well, which makes it a little bit better, maybe, but I do love the Unicorn Sting blade, and even if it's not top tier in the competitive meta or anything, it's always been just kind of fun to battle with. And for the parts, it is on 370, which I don't think is as good as 360, but it's a bit of a newer piece and, you know, it's fun to have. And then we have Dot again in a red color. So, Dot once again freaks me out. I don't really know how good it's going to be, but Unicorn Sting, it looks good. Next up, we have the green recolor of Wizard Rod. And while Wizard Rod is great, whenever we first saw pictures of this bay in this random booster, it was almost vomit colored and even kind of vomit inducing. I did not like the color of this bay at all. But we did see actual pictures of the bay in person at that same event I was telling you about whenever we were talking about Cobalt Dragoon. And the green is a lot more neon looking than I was expecting. And while I still am not the biggest fan of the color scheme, this neon look I think is a lot more interesting, and it could even probably glow under like black lights or something. It's definitely a lot better, even if it's not my favorite. I will say the part combination here is pretty interesting as well. We have 160, which is the same ratchet that came on Dranbuster. Not the most amazing ratchet, but I'm seeing people use it in competitive scenarios, especially in Japanese tournaments, and actually having luck with it. But one of the most hype aspects of the entire random booster is the fact that we're getting Rush as well. Now, Rush is a bit that is highly sought after. It's only available in the Dranzer kind of deck set that came out back in 2023, and it's now available in the Extreme Battle set from Hasbro. So getting a re-release here is really good, and the fact that they're pairing it with Wizard Rod, which is probably one of, if not the best blades in the entire Beyblade X game, just makes this kind of a must-buy, even if the part color scheme isn't amazing. For the next bay in the random booster, we have Viper Tail. Now, I don't really have much to say about this. My opinions haven't really changed, even if we've seen pictures of it in person. It's just, among everything, it is the oldest bay in the random booster. We've also seen this release a few times in different color schemes, and I kind of compared it to the purple Rhino Horn that we got in the Tyranno Beat random booster as being kind of a throw-in, and it's the same color as well. So a lot of people are liking that purple color scheme, but for the bay itself, I really don't care. We are getting the 570 ratchet here in what I assume is a purple color scheme, and the 5-sided ratchets are always pretty good, or at least 560 is, and I've used 570 at tournaments and had pretty good luck with it as well, so I'm good with that part. And then for the bits, we have Dot. We have Dot in purple. Whether it's good or bad, it's Dot, okay? So we have 3 opportunities to get Dot in this whole random booster. And now let's move on to the final bay in the random booster, which is either one you really like or maybe you're kind of disappointed with. And we have Phoenix Wing. So getting a re-release of Phoenix Wing is nice, although a lot of people have Phoenix Wing already because it released in a kind of a set with a launcher. The Hasbro version, Soar Phoenix, released in a launcher set as well. So it was already one of the best buys and best value propositions in the entire Beyblade X lineup, but we're getting a blue recolor here, and it looks good. Blue and red is a little bit overdone in Beyblade, I think, because everybody loves those colors. It's also not painted, which is a bit of a negative for me as a collector. I would like to see the higher quality paint. Although I'd probably have to buy a second one to battle with, and some of you guys may be happy that it's not painted, so that way your paint doesn't scuff, so there is that. But looking at the parts that are here is interesting as well, okay? We have 580, which 570 and 560 is better, but 580 is cool, but we're also seeing the Hexa bit, which is insane. So Hexa is wild on Wizard Rod, especially. I actually used Wizard Rod 570 Hexa at a tournament a little while ago, and it was almost undefeated. It is really good. So if you look at this random booster, you have Wizard Rod on Rush, which is awesome. Bit of an odd combination there, but 2 really good parts. And you also have Phoenix Wing on Hexa, which is once again a bit of an odd combo. Maybe that one would work actually, but you have a lot of really competitive and really sought after parts getting re-released in a random booster. So now let's move on to the last bit of news, and that is the Black Dranzer. So there's definitely a few asterisks here, okay? The original Black Dranzer, which is a kind of fan favorite Beyblade from the original plastic generation, that was a black recoloring of Dranzer F that was actually kind of evil in the anime, and that it would kind of steal bit beasts, and it kind of made Kai turn into a jerk, and the whole Rasputin arc, it was a whole thing, okay? But Black Dranzer is a little bit expensive, and everybody really likes it, especially this guy right here. But here we see a Black Dranzer, but it's not Dranzer F. It is a black recolor of Dranzer S, so it's not quite the same thing, but Takara Tomy knows what they're doing here. But now we know it is going to be sold at the Beyblade bar. Kind of an interesting thing. I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to actually order this from Japan. I don't think any normal websites or resellers like Mall of Toys are going to have this Bay up for sale because it's one of those rare things, kind of like Dranzer, that Yamiuri edition, or the Blue Shark Edge. But I'm definitely kind of mixed on this. It's cool. I mean, I'm going to try and get it, although I'm not really in a big rush or anything. But the fact that Takara Tomy is acknowledging a Black Dranzer is kind of cool. So that is going to wrap up this kind of long, sort of deep dive video. Kind of touched on a lot of the stuff I've talked about in my last video, but went a little bit more in depth to these bays' competitive usage, what they could perform like, you know, what some pieces could do or maybe can't do. We also went deeper into the random booster and talked about the actual parts and kind of the value of the entire booster as well. So let me know what you guys think of Cobalt Dragoon. I mean, obviously, everybody really loves it as of right now. And let me know what you guys think of the random booster, and if this video made you like the booster more or made you like it less. Once again, getting a reprint of Rush, Hexa, Phoenix Wing, Wizard Rod is really cool. But that is going to wrap up this video. If you liked it, hit that like button down below and hit subscribe to join the Nook Nation. Go and check out Mall of Toys and get your pre-orders in for these upcoming amazing July releases. I will see you in the next one. Have fun and bay away.